How about now? Can you guys hear me now? Do I have audio now? I really hope so. All right, cool. Thanks. Good looking out. You missed all the great stuff I had to say a minute ago. As I was saying, hey, what's up, E? What's up, John? And what's up, Moments of Truth? As I was saying, if you are the ultimate Jey Uso fanboy, if you've been following his involvement in the Bloodline storyline since the beginning, if you've thought this whole thing was building all around him, and you thought he needs to be given the belt, he is main event Jey Uso, he must then be ascendant to the top. Tonight was as close as you were ever going to get to the top of the card for Jey Uso, and it was not to be. Despite a valiant effort, as E is pointing out there in the chat, Jey was never going to win. Valiant effort, decent enough build, but now we can move on. And that was the biggest thing that happened in Saturday night's main event? Not exactly, but we are going to break down everything that happened on this nice and tight 2-hour edition of Saturday night's main event. I am your host, Rob. This is the Nocturnal Knockout, a Brass Ring Media podcast right here on the One True Sport YouTube channel. Moments of Truth thinks they need to give Jey the belt and a good feud with Orton. That actually brings up something I want to get into tonight. Something on Jey Uso. He's a character now that has hit a certain plateau in kayfabe, maybe in reality. I don't know. There was discourse this week about giving Jey the title. I don't think it was ever a reality. I don't think WWE ever considered it. And when you're looking at the lay of the land, I think the booking would actually be pretty hard to figure out. With that said, it's not like Jey does not have his fans. And it's not like Jey isn't extremely over. It's not like Jey doesn't sell a bunch of merchandise. It isn't like Jey is not positioned as one of the top guys on whatever show he is on. That does not mean that he needs to be the champion. I'm not with you guys if you say that Jey needs to have the belt. I think Jey is a main event level guy. I don't think he needs the belt to validate that. And to be honest with you, I think a guy like Jey getting the belt at this point may actually devalue the belt, even though Jey is a top tier player. You know, Burrow Shades, that's first of all, that's a great handle. Joe Burrow Shades is a great handle, but very shiesty of you. It's really hard to predict WrestleMania right now. And I feel that that is a great problem that we have being a couple of months out, being 1 week into the Rumble. I have no idea who's going to win that match. And I'm not really sure who is challenging for these titles. We'll talk about that in a minute, Moment of Truth, because I think that was actually the biggest development of the night, but despite a title match being the main event of Saturday night's main event. Like James, another singles belt. So theory of evolution over here must be a mystery. Notes that they can give Jey another single title, maybe give him a Mania moment with the US belt. See, I'd be much more in support of something like that. I don't think Jey needs one of the big titles. I don't think Jey should have one of the big titles. But Jey on a big time secondary run, I think would be great. I thought they could have given Jey the win over Gunther when Gunther had the IC belt. I was not completely just dismissive of that, although I didn't think it was going to happen. What do you guys think? Get in on the chat as you are doing. I think for tonight, even though I will talk to you guys Monday night, we really need to start building out our Royal Rumble pay-per-view predictions, not just the Rumble matches themselves, but we're gonna have to start taking a look at some of the other matches. We got a 2 out of 3 falls match, a 2 out of 3 falls tag match that's gonna take up some time. We have the Cody and KO match, which has just been going on for so long. I don't know about that one. Shades seems like a shady suggestion. So, would you guys be in support of this? Let's throw Burrow Shades' chat up there. Logan Paul versus Gunther. Not saying they wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't. So theory of evolution throws out there. As much as you'd like to see Jey with the belt now, they think Gunther winning makes sense just because it would be them trading title. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I think you have had to nice one, theory of evolution. I think you have had to reset Gunther a little bit. Like Gunther didn't do well. I felt like coming off of the end of the year and into the new year. Gunther has needed to be reset. That's why I feel like tonight was positive in that direction, and that he got a complete clean win. There was no real ambiguity. There was no interference. Jacob didn't get involved. No one else came in. It was a little Super Cena-y of Gunther, but I think that's fine. Where it was a lot of Jey giving him his moves and Gunther on the comeback. Let's read some of your guys' predictions you guys have over there in the chat. We'll throw some of them up on the big screen there. Night 1, Punk versus Gunther. Interesting. E, you threw up. I hope it was for my take. I hope you're not actually sick, E. You're like my most loyal chatter here. I need you to be okay, E. Night 2, Reigns versus Rhodes. You really think they're going to go to Roman versus Cody again? I think Roman versus Punk is one side of the equation. Have we got any follow-up on Rock? I know there was a little bit of the scuttlebutt that maybe he's not returning for this year's WrestleMania, I should say. Reigns versus Moj, they're going to do the match, man. So I honestly think Roman versus Cody doesn't reset. And I was talking to about someone this morning. I don't think that resets for another couple of WrestleManias. I do think we get 3 of them. I do think they want to make that like the modern Austin versus Rock. And I think it's not a bad idea to have that match the third time be with Cody as the heel. But we have a lot of moving parts and stuff to get there. Definitely something down the road. So yeah, I guess you guys aren't into that match. We got a lot of discussion at WrestleMania off of this match, which I didn't clarify. Well, been smoking like RVD. Well, most of you are finding me through RVD's Twitter channel over here, so his Twitter account. So that makes sense if you're smoking like RVD. So Kevin Owens versus Gunther would make sense in some ways as far as like a match, but I think you need a face in that situation. And I wouldn't want to turn either one of the guys that extreme at this point. Kevin Owens versus Gunther. Another one. Cody, he'll have to go. I wouldn't mind Orton versus. This is the one that I've been kind of. If you're going to, and moments of podcast put in here, wouldn't mind Orton versus Cody. There does seem to be momentum towards that, and there does seem to be a proximity there, and it's a match people want. And there's a ton of history, and I think you could do a ton of builds and a really good build with it. And I think since Cody came in, people have had that match sort of penciled in of when they are going to do it. I think if other stuff falls through with Cody, it's not a bad consolation prize for this year. But I mean, there could be bigger things this year. Technician versus technician. No, I get the appeal of the match. I just don't know if I want to build that kind of match, and if it would really sell right now in the same kind of way. I don't know if we might be in a real babyface versus heel era right now. We saw when they tried to kind of turn Gunther not too long ago. It just kind of didn't click, and now he's back in his more heelish activities. Someone on Twitter just uh, put up the hauntedness that they have of Charlotte Flair, which I think any fan of women's wrestling is haunted by Charlotte Flair right now. I can't. So I've got Roman and Punk as one of the nights. I had Cody and Rock until like a week ago. Um, I don't know from there. There's where I'm having trouble getting that night 2-1. I want to wait till the Rumble. When I'm doing the Rumble post show, I'll declare that one. Let's see where we're at with Drew. A lot of circling the wagons right now with a lot of that part of that main event scene. Oh, what? None of you guys are picking anything else like crazy or out of the ordinary. So the main event lasted 16 minutes, but I got to tell you, it was a lot of stalling. Like I looked at the clock, and what's really good about a Saturday night's main event is you know exactly when it's gonna end. Like you know when Saturday Night Live was gonna start. So you knew how long this match was gonna go, but then they really laid it on with entrances and all of that good stuff. Predictions for KO versus Cody at the Rumble. I'll get into those on Monday night for that match because I'll talk to you guys on Monday. You think it was mid? Well, I think the show, Burrow Shades, a few things on that. I think the show was actually very good for what it was, what the show is. I think this is a pretty good addition of Saturday's main event. I thought all 4 matches were fairly decent matches, although fairly short. But that's what it is. It's the sampler platter of the regular shows with matches that aren't quite main event, but are still important and are still beats that need to happen in the story. There haven't been a lot of just I would say schmozzy finishes. There've been some inconclusive stuff and some stuff that got kicked down the line, and we had a promo tonight. But I think that's what these shows are. So while they may be called Saturday night's main event, they are very rarely, I think, main event style shows in that kind of way. And we can have a big match every now and then, but it's television wrestling almost in its only form nowadays. We have a 3-hour cable show on Friday nights that feels very, very much like they're trying to stretch out those couple of hours. This is what you have on your network TV wrestling right now. I think Cody needs to beat Owens. He should only lose the belt at Mania currently. Yeah, I find that I agree with you generally, theory of evolution out there, but it's difficult because just generally in the Triple H era, we're building up champions to hold the belt so long. I kind of always only having them consider that. Anyone else remember when main event was well, main event had that thing that all WWEC shows have, where they pretend they're going to be good for like the first couple of weeks. I want to say like there was a Paul Heyman promo on an early version of main event, and then it just became like the guys that you never saw on TV wrestling. Did main event have Undertaker? I want to say too on one of its early episodes. Is it main event or like there was that other random show they had? Why am I debating WWEC shows on a Saturday night's main event? I don't know. You think they've been too long? I don't know if they've been too long. theory, but there is a bit of a predictability to that. Sunday, yeah, Sunday Night Heat. Talk about throwing. We should, I think I saw on YouTube, and this is random topic, but hey, it's Saturday night. Maybe we'll have a real one of these in a little bit. We'll take a ginger ale. That's the official Brass Ring Media soda genre sponsor, not a specific brand. I think we're getting Tiffany and Charlotte, by the way, this year, to your guys' discussion there. Yeah. So the thing about these evening shows like that are actually late, I feel like if I have an actual beer, I'll just get relaxed and start talking to you guys casually, and which will be great content, but not very productive. My name's Billy. I love we're getting on Saturday night's main event. We're getting nostalgic for Sunday Night Heat. There's 2 eras of Sunday Night Heat though, or maybe you can say 3. There's pre-SmackDown Sunday Night Heat, which is the legit B show in the company. Nobody needs to be productive, Theory. Nobody. We'll talk about that segment in a minute, Heat. So now I lost my train. Okay, Sunday Night Heat. So Sunday Night Heat before SmackDown airs is great. It's a fun B show. It's not that long. The only episodes that were ever really bad, I would say sometimes the pre-SmackDown Heat. Oof. The okay, I get what you're saying. The all of that work. The pay-per-view shows sometimes were a little weird, but they were great lead-ins. Even later on, when the show had lost its steam, I would love to watch, like, if on a pay-per-view that I couldn't get because I could never get pay-per-views. They weren't WrestleMania when I was a kid. I used to love watching the lead-ins though on Sunday Night Heat. That was my version of the free-for-all. And then SmackDown came in. It became the third show, and really the C show. And then when it moved, right, it was on USA. They moved to MTV, which you think would be cool. That was a good times, moments the truth. Yeah, so MTV, I think about that, right? Was Tough Enough on MTV? That's right around at the same time, right? And so that was WWE kind of peak Attitude Era going into MTV, and both networks. Well, MTV had a very successful 2000s, but both networks doing all kinds of stuff. But then he stayed around forever. I remember like Raven was the commentator on Heat, and he stayed around like 2008. Went to be like a web show. For me though, you guys talk about Saturday C shows. I'm all about Jacked and Metal back in the days. I was more of a Jacked guy than a Metal guy. Metal would air in the afternoon over here, and then Jacked in the evening. But like I didn't have Raw. I didn't have cable, so the way for me to catch the Raw stuff was for Jack and Metal. D'Lo Brown was a staple of Heat. I love, speaking of Jacked and Metal, S.A. Rios. That's where like I fell in love with S.A. Rios was through Jacked and Metal. And occasionally you get like original promos. I guess that was like the end of syndication. Velocity was kind of cool too, but I guess the legacy of Velocity is like that Daniel Bryan John Cena match from all those years ago. That was good stuff. Do you guys want to talk about what happened tonight, or we want to talk about C shows from 20 years ago? Because that seems just as interesting, and quite honestly, even more. Okay, let's talk a little more serious stuff. Let's talk about Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman. Saturday Morning Slam. Is that the one where Daniel Bryan was that weird character? Was he the Dazzler on that show? Braun Strowman versus Jacob Fatu. All of this, in my opinion, was the highlight of the evening. I think that was the point of this evening. That conveyed most of what they needed to do. That was the biggest piece of storyline progression we had on the night. I just thought this was a really, really good piece of business. And I have a question for you guys, because I wanted to clear this up. I was having a conversation about this earlier over here. And what they did tonight with Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu, is this like the first time they've ever really used Braun to kind of put someone over? Braun has been very de-emphasized since that original main event run, and probably bleeding into 2020 when he had to step in and win the Universal title. since then, things have not been the best for Braun. He's not been the most featured character, but he still has been protected, I would say, relative to old things. And tonight, I think, is something that really showed or was a usage of him where he was being used to get someone else over, and they're doing everything I can to put Jacob. They're doing everything they can to put Jacob Fatu in this position as the head of the remnants of the bloodline or whatever they're going to call themselves. And it was Braun Strowman getting the victory because of a disqualification, which I think was hitting the ref was what caused the disqualification here, which was a pretty fun match prior to that. And I should back up a little bit. It ended with all of the the hip checks, the Oscar move, whatever you want to call that. You guys are gonna yell at me in the chat. Anyway, Jacob was doing it over and over again to Braun, just running his ass into his head over and over again. Shout out to Braun. I thought Braun sold this really well. It looked kind of uncomfortable and quiet, and it was going on and on. Now I hate when they do the referee stops the thing in the middle of the match to check on someone's spot. Like, it doesn't ever lead to anything, and it's a very I just feel like it's an inconsistent way of presenting wrestling, because it's just generally not presented presented like that. But it was a hell of a beatdown, and then the post match it kept going and going. It was interesting how I thought they even presented the post match different than they do. It's normally presented with a lot of physicality. You know, you get Jason Jordan and all the agents out there, and this was a little bit different, where they were sort of like standoffish to Jacob in the way they were doing it. So Jacob was still doing his things. And I thought, like, it was kind of teetering on, it looked a little bit ridiculous and soft, but then you could also say, like, they were trying to give Jacob, to quote the young people, aura. And they were building this as a beatdown. He did his moonsault. He did all of those moves. Him and Tama Tonga out there, they're carrying this. Where does it go? Who do they feud with? They have the LA Knight thing going. Basically, it's Rikishi's Sting face. It's the same one that the Usos do too, but the way that Jacob did it was just particularly brutal. How are you guys feeling though with Jacob? We haven't talked about this because we tend to talk about Raw quite a bit on this show. Where are you guys at though with Jacob being, obviously he's going to be the head of this group, I think, going forward, but where are you guys at with him? How far away are we from like a legit him and Roman match, or is that something in the near future? I will say there were some interesting things tonight. Like, recently, we have had some reprieves from Pat McAfee. Got a national championship reprieve. We did not get our McAfee reprieve on this night. We got Jesse the Body. We did, who I'll talk about it later, but uh, yeah, I wanted to take out McAfee, to be honest with you. Yeah, it may have to be some time theory for sure. Also because Roman in relation to the bloodline, Roman in relation to the bloodline guys was kind of shown a few times that he could take them on like 1-on-5. So there may need to be some establishment there. I think him being the ultimate hoss though right now in WWE and being that character is just perfect for him. Um, I like the pivot though. I like the pivot to him. Not to say this Solo wasn't terrible in his role, but I just think Jacob is the guy for this. Yeah, and it's what I think theory what makes it work is it's not done the way they were trying to do with Veer or the way maybe even they did with Umaga back in the day. And a lot of that sort of trope that they could go down under this with this character. I think there would be a very bad way to do this character in a way that they tend to lean on to do these. And this I think kind of straddles that line pretty well. Well, the Muppets sometimes are in canon, so maybe they can face. Maybe they can face. But you had a lot of Braun running tonight, and I wanted to throw it out there. Did you guys remember the choo choo sounds that used to accompany Braun? Why did I feel like those were coming back? I don't want those to come back. We don't need that. That was a time period. Wasn't that the feud with Shane McMahon? Don't ask me why I was watching the 2022 Royal Rumble yesterday, but I got flashbacks of Shane McMahon trying to like book himself to beat everyone and Vince disowning him. That was some times. We've been through a lot as wrestling fans. It's been a rough go. All right, let's get into the promo segment of the night. The big contract signing between Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, moderated in his sometimes hometown, Shawn Michaels. I say sometimes. He's always identified San Antonio as his hometown, and I think rightfully so. However, when they are in Phoenix, they will point out that he was born in Phoenix, and they'd like to do something about that. They hammered that home back in the day, 21 years ago at this point, when he faced Benoit in a Iron Man match on Raw. None of those things exist or are important to anything. I don't know why I'm talking about it. Contract signing. Well, speaking of unimportant, if you wanted to cut something from this evening, I think you could have cut this segment. It wasn't bad necessarily. It was just inconsequential. It was just a promo. Yeah, I think Theory is thinking of it the way I'm gonna be real. Felt predictable. You knew the moment Michael was involved, the Sweet Chin Music was coming. I'm not really a fan of these signings. Yeah, we've had them for 25, 30 years at this point. So they go pretty similar. I didn't like the premise of this going in though. I thought was bad because now I don't watch a ton of NXT, so I can't really speak to Sean's presence as a real authority figure. But every time we see him on main roster, that is not who he is. He's not this authority figure that's going to keep order. Like it makes sense if you put Stone Cold Steve Austin as an enforcer, one of these guys to do that kind of thing. When you have Sean out there, like it makes sense, I guess, if he's the referee, but he's there to still the show and all. Like old man Shawn Michaels, I don't think actually works for this kind of setup. Obviously, he's gonna get a big pop in Texas and get a big pop anywhere because Shawn Michaels. I did appreciate the shirt that Kevin Owens had on. Cody sucks eggs. Obviously, Terry Funk passed away a few years ago, but we did get to see Dory Funk on this evening as part of the Texas luminaries. E got stoned and watched the 2016 Royal Rumble the other day. Don't watch the 2016 Royal Rumble. That one was considered. Don't watch that. Ambrose should have won. I hope in your condition you were able to come to that conclusion, E. Sean had on his oh, that's great, E. That's great to know. Ava, the greatest Nepo baby ever. You realize like Ava's gonna be good in like 20 years and people are gonna be regretting their takes. I'm not saying I know anything or have any special insight. That's just the way the world works. But Sean had his how do I say this without defaming him? Because I don't think he was in this condition tonight, but Sean's voice is very deep and gravelly. Don't know why. Don't know what actions he committed in his younger days to make his voice have such a gruff edge to it, but he was sounding like that. Now, with that said, at least now Sean can finish sentences and sound coherent. Remember, like in '97, when Sean would wrestle the greatest matches you've ever seen in '97, and then he'd cut promos, and like I've been stumbling all over my words all night, and I'm stone cold sober. Sean's on like 5,000 pills, and he's saying "World Wrestler Federation." Those were times. He had that tone of voice, but he was coherent tonight. And this was playing off with little promos with KO hesitant to sign, with a little pen in hand, hesitant to sign E. I did appreciate Wrestling Federation. No, straight ginger ale. Sponsor me, Canada Dry or generic ginger ale. I don't have my cozy to do that. I did love that, and this is the genius, I guess, or the point of bringing Sean out there. I love KO telling him that he's making this title, the title he's been walking around with, the Winged Eagle title, more prestige to it than Sean ever did. Which, true, by the way, true. He also promised to be a champion that wasn't going to lose his smile. Again, maybe it's too cute. Maybe it's just something out there for the hardcores. We'll take it. We'll take it. KO's strike to Cody, though, I thought was pretty well timed when they did go into the fighting section. I thought Cody's promo was fairly good as well. They go into the fighting section. Was the headbutt or the strike? I can't remember. I'm thinking the headbutt from the Nia match. But you had KO striking Cody there. Sean was saved. I thought we were maybe gonna get a package pile driver, although Sean might turn to dust at this point. I don't know. His hat takes his hair with it, is my theory on Shawn Michaels these days. But Sean got his sweet chin music in after all, which obviously got a really big pop. I think Cody got a super kick of his own in first, and then Sean got in his definitive one. I was kind of hoping, although you didn't think it was really going to happen, I wouldn't have minded for Sean to have Cody eat a sweet chin music, although probably wouldn't have made sense in any way other than just like I'm Sean and I need the attention, which is like one of the best versions of Sean is the Sean that needs all the attention. I'm not against that Sean at all. We'd have Sean funeral at Rumble if he took the belt. So in kayfabe, like the 5 years, the 5-year difference between Randy and Cody really, really matters. It's so important because think about the devastation that the moves of Kevin Owens caused to Randy Orton, how long he's been out and what they did to him. They had an impact on Cody, but at least Cody's like, on 2 feet these days. Yeah, Evolution, you were a fan of the segment, and it was a fine segment. Like, it wasn't bad by any stretch, but there was nothing to it. And again, with these 4 matches, you kind of could have cut that, and it would have been a tighter show. Or you could put something else in that spot. Now, granted, I say all that. What was the point of this? The point is to promote your match on Saturday. Did this make you more or less want to see that? I would say it's more in the positive category. I don't know how many Peacock subscriptions it sold, if any, but it was a fine enough segment. I think the issue is probably what Theory was getting through in the chat. It's just contract signings. I don't know if that's exact. I can look that up. Let me look at their age difference. So Cody Rhodes, I want to say Cody Rhodes is 39. Yeah, he's 39. Old man. And Randy is 44. Hey, good guess by me. The match felt hyped already enough without the signing. Yeah, and so if you look at the Rumble though, it's nice you got the one title match, but that tag title match just takes up a lot of space. 2 out of 3 falls. 2 out of 3 falls, 2 Rumble matches, and a Cody Rhodes match. Well, you got to remember, Randy's gimmick for the first 20 years of his career was that like he was super young to be doing everything that he had done. So I think that's why we lose fact that Orton's only 44 because he was like 23 for so long. It's kind of like the LeBron thing where you actually don't appreciate these guys being old, or you think they're older than they actually are in actual age because they've been in our sports worlds for so long. All right. Okay, so the second match of the night, and tell me what you think of this format. We have a few different ways of doing this, and I kind of like going from the top down as we did tonight, but we'll see different. Sometimes we start from the smallest match and lead up, but it was just kind of how I started reading my notes. So, Braun Breaker versus Sheamus with Jesse the Body Ventura on commentary. Will the journey that Sheamus has been on for several years to complete his WWE portfolio, will it ever end? Well, it didn't end tonight. Now, there were some highlights from Jesse on commentary, as there always is. I thought Jesse was a little more reserved than he could have been tonight, but what's up, Eddie? I thought I think Jesse's just good generally. A little too honest sometimes for the storyline, but I think that's what makes it great. But even Jesse had to get in on some Steiner math humor, which was great. He said that if Braun Breaker did math, he thinks 2 + 2 = 5. Pat McAfee went insane at a mention of Steiner math, and as he should. Pat, I criticize Pat a lot. Not the biggest fan of his commentary or his podcasts or his appearances on ESPN or the way he dresses, but him marking out for Steiner math was all right. Good match again. I think maybe from I don't know how you quantify this. Maybe in ring perspective, I thought this was the best sort of match of the night. Although the night had plenty of wrestling in it, but it wasn't a lot of blowaway wrestling. It was a lot of just very competent wrestling. But I bought on the bro kick. I got to tell you, I bought on that bro kick the way they set it up. I didn't know that it was necessarily. I wasn't necessarily in agreement with Jesse when he brought the logic of the guy counted the 3 besides seeing the rope, which happens all the time in WWE and has happened for years, where the ref counts the 3 and then there's some technicality. Sometimes it's a legit mistake. I want to say No Way Out 2001 is the one I think of all the time. Rock and Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle got a clear 3 count on one of those falls, and they did that. I like Snoop on commentary when he did MMA for a little while. How about Snoop and McAfee in a match? But again, for the second Saturday night's main event in a row, you've got Jesse sort of pointing out why the results were improper. And there's stuff about replay that they're talking about, and it's again, I want Jesse to have a match also with McAfee. Why am I booking poor McAfee, man? We're like a good guy. Here I'm doing this stuff. I think I have ESPN resentments to him that are bleeding into wrestling for no good reason. I also like Jesse though. Honestly, Jesse's part of Jesse's persona in the quote real world is his attachment to conspiracy theories and popularization of them. Why can't he have that exact character in WWE? I did bite on the bro kick, and there is the out, which makes you think Sheamus may, in fact, get another shot at this. I'm done though. I don't think you can keep telling this story. Like people may pop for it when it eventually happens because people pop for stuff that's big, but I think it's okay if he never gets that. It's such a long carrot that they're chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing. I just don't for something that I don't know is actually that important. I guess I would say. So, but where are you guys at though in general with that as we move the whole division forward? Because is this the end? Again, this I would like this to be the end of Sheamus, but it didn't really seem like they booked this to be the end of Sheamus going for that IC title. But again, I think Braun kind of has you talk about the long title run thing. Again, not a bad thing, but and Braun has lost the title once. Where does Braun go at this WrestleMania? There's a lot of people that are strong that are they ready to lose titles yet? Is it time to move on? We saw Kaiser kind of getting, I guess, phased down a little. Not as phased down, but he lost there. So Theory, you think because they've teased it so often, they need to actually like it? Do you think it'd be a disservice to the character? I'd be curious about that. Oh, there was I just saw a brutal knockout um, at the bare knuckle. Good old Saturday bare knuckle going across your Twitter feed or your X feed. I hate using the word X. I got that Blue Sky app by the way. Like, look at me up, Rob's Envy. I've got nothing on there yet. I'm only following Zach Haydorn, but I'm gonna try to be a little more active on the social media in general now that I'm doing this a little more often. But you do think they need to pull the trigger? They'll do the Rumble again. Sheamus will point out Jesse's commentary on Monday. But I mean, I think they really are going to use Jesse's commentary as part of that. I I don't know. I'm on a little bit of a shoot fighting cleanse at the moment. Now that I'm still not watching, I'm just like not watching as intently. I watched it really close for a long time, and it was what it was. Okay, and that leaves us, believe it or not, with only one match to talk about, and that was our opener for the Women's World Championship. It was Rhea Ripley defending against Nia Jax. I did like the opening here. That headbutt that Nia Jax laid out was pretty cool. She just did that, boom, and the way Rhea sort of dropped for it. But then after that, it was a Nia Jax match. Nothing bad, nothing terrible. Not on her level of infamy in her matches with Bailey. None of those kind of fun Nia Jax moments, and nothing that was really overbooked here in any way. They went for a riptide at the end, and I'm curious about this because there was a lot of selling at the end by Rhea Ripley, and I think that's mostly what it was. But it was a very low angle she got on the riptide, which if that was the intent, I think that works because Nia weighs more than nearly any competitor you would have there. So of course it shouldn't look as good and should look a little rougher. That makes sense, and I think that's that works as a piece of storytelling. If it wasn't the case, I hope she's not hurt. I hope she's just selling. Because this would be some really, really, really bad time to for anything like that. I think this was largely, Rhea selling it and doing a good job and making me quote unquote concerned for her. Oh, and the guy who got the bare knuckle knockout also proposed to his wife. I guess it's a really good night for him. Take it easy, Evolution. I'm here most Monday nights. I'll be here after the Rumble and after any other big WWE event. Catch you later, 3. Oh, cool. Those of us on the West Coast. Collision's going to be starting soon, which I think was like a show that I think was well received on this evening from what I was seeing. What's up, Maddie? Oh, good. Peter Rosenberg's telling us that Nia Jax is focusing. Oh, no. We have Nia confronting Rosenberg. And she told Jackie Rosenberg her outfit sucks. See, it's not the same on the post shows if we don't get the full presser. But unsurprisingly, tying up that match, if we didn't speak about it, as I said, Rhea won opening the night. Charlotte winning the Rumble, I think, feels pretty safe to me. I gotta be honest. I got Charlotte taking out Tiffany. I don't know where that leaves the other side. It feels like Becky's gonna be back soon. Does she feud for one of the lower titles? I don't know. Man, what are you, Maddie? Are you indoors, man? You can do a swim on January 25th. Good for you. I need to live your life, Maddie. I need to join you. And that was most of Saturday night's main event. What do we got on tap for Raw tomorrow night? We have fair point, Maddie. Fair point. It's also a different time of day. Timeless Tony Storm is back on the AEW roster page. Does that mean her amnesia over? Look at that. I can follow like 4% of something that's not Monday Night Raw. So tomorrow night on Raw, we have a Cody appearance. More importantly than that, we have a Roman Reigns appearance. Now, like, Roman isn't doing anything, right? He's coming out there, he's saying that he needs to be acknowledged, and he's going to be re-acknowledged at the Royal Rumble, and that's it. We also have Logan Paul set to make his Raw debut. It kind of feels like not necessarily a big Raw tomorrow or Monday, but one where they're doing to sort of huddle in close for the big blowout that will be the Royal Rumble a week from tonight. Oh, that's the other thing we got going on is the War Raiders will defend their titles against Mysterio and McDonough and the Judgment Day and whatever's going on. I'm so done with all that. No one's bad from there. Plenty of good competitors, but I think we can move on. You like the show, Maddie? Yeah. What do we rank our Saturday night's main event tonight? It's, if you do it out of 10, I think school grades suck. I have the authority to say this. I think a 7 out of 10 should not represent a C. But I think 7. I don't think this was a C level show. Maybe C shouldn't be such a bad thing. I mean, I've seen some of your guys spell it in the chat. There's a lot of you guys who think C's are not a bad thing. I think that's what this was, a good C. That's like a C that you could be proud of. That was tonight's show. Well, I mean, they didn't announce Cena for Monday, so I'm assuming his next appearance is at the Rumble, and then the next appearance there is at the Chamber. You would think he's going to do something leading into the Chamber, unless he wins the Rumble, which plenty of people are picking that. I'm not, but I'm reserving my Rumble picks for Monday night. But I'm not going to pick Cena, I don't think. It's tough, though. Lots of main eventers. Lots of main eventers in that match. Tonight makes me think, though, and probably for good reason, we cleared out a lot of stuff that we don't need to deal with at the Rumble. Right? Like we don't need a women's world title match. We don't need an IC match, and we don't need a world heavyweight title match. All those can just go by the wayside for the Rumble, which really works because, again, we have 2 Rumbles and a 2 out of 3 falls match and a Cody match. Is there anything else announced? I should look that up now as we're circling the wagons here. Is there anything else announced? Okay, well, so according to old reliable Wikipedia, those are the only 4 matches. But again, think about the time frame that would take. And to Triple H's credit, when he does really long pay-per-views, he splits them out over 2 nights. This is not a 2-night Royal Rumble. Thank God. The official list here on the men's side: LA Knight, John Cena, CM Punk, Jey Uso, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Rey Mysterio, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura. On the women's side, Nia Jax, Bayley, Charlotte Flair, Naomi, Bianca, Liv, and Raquel. That's where I was thinking. Is SummerSlam 2 nights also, or am I getting that confused? I don't know. 2 nights with a Rumble works, though, in the sense of you have 2 Rumble matches. And, bloated show. I gotta say, I've adjusted to 2-night WrestleManias because my problem always was in the 7-hour WrestleMania era was that it was hard to always find stuff that you would want to cut because it felt like everything was being given good enough time. But there was just too many things going on to really have it bleed like that, to also sneak in the multi-person matches and all that. Just 2 nights works better if that's what you're insistent on doing. The women's match, though, it just feels all about uneasy alliances that'll be coming down. Raquel is going to have something with Liv. Bianca and Naomi obviously are going to be involved with each other some way in the match. I don't know. Is Jade to be back by that match? I'm not sure. And Nia just doesn't stop getting attention on programming just constantly. She's just always. That does seem to be where just everything eventually is headed, though. For these major shows, just 2 nights. All right, guys, I've done my hour-long monologue. I think I will get out of here in a couple of minutes, unless you guys have anything else in the chat. Keep it going for a few minutes, and then we can all go to bed like Evolution did. Or Matt. I mean, Matt, he's in Australia. He's just getting rolling, taking his dip in the pool there. Of course, he probably lives in the pool there in Australia. Did any of you guys get Spanish commentary in your English commentary? I'm seeing that on Twitter. I did not, but maybe I wasn't paying attention. And that's a perfect way to leave us tonight. So, if you enjoyed what you heard tonight, go ahead and hit subscribe on the One True Sport YouTube channel. Make sure you're already following all the other channels that we're on. Be sure to get even more of this content over at the Brass Ring Media YouTube channel. And of course, subscribe to us on Substack and Patreon. But that's going to do it for me tonight. I will talk to you guys Monday night after Raw. Have a good one.